When you're scrolling through those glossy Illinois real estate listings, what do you usually see? You see the stunning quartz countertops, the perfectly staged living rooms, the fresh coat of paint. But today, we're talking about the ultimate hidden antagonist lurking right behind that freshly painted drywall. Yep, we're talking about the plumbing. Now, usually, we just think of plumbing as a totally standard maintenance fact of homeownership, right? A leaky faucet here, maybe a slow drain over there, no big deal. But when you are trying to actually sell a house, the plumbing suddenly transforms. It literally becomes this silent deal killer that has the power to just completely upend a transaction right at the finish line.
Okay, let's dive into this. When a buyer does their due diligence, they generally expect a few quirks. But what's the exact threshold when an inspection report goes from a nice-to-know list of weekend DIY projects to a massive red flag that makes the buyer yell, "Stop the clock"? How do these seemingly minor water issues suddenly escalate into catastrophic deal breakers that can terminate a sale entirely?
To figure this out, we're going to follow a quick map of the minefield. Number 1, the threat. Number 2, the visible monsters. Number 3, the invisible threats. Number 4, buyer leverage. And finally, number 5, the shield.
All right, starting off with Section 1, the threat and the fundamental disconnect. This whole standoff really begins with a massive psychological gap at the closing table. It's a total clash of perspectives. For a seller who's lived with the home's little quirks for years, a damp spot in the basement is, well, it's just a minor inconvenience. You toss an old towel on it and go back upstairs to watch TV. But to a buyer, someone who just emptied their entire savings account for a down payment, they absolutely do not see a puddle. They see instant bankruptcy. To them, it's an expensive, disruptive, and wildly unpredictable deal breaker. They are absolutely terrified of inheriting repairs that could jeopardize their financial stability just weeks after moving in.
Moving right along to Section 2, the visible monsters. We're talking active leaks and failing heaters. And this brilliantly illustrates how the first wave of threats, the highly visible red flags, instantly trigger a buyer's panic response. Say an inspector notes damp drywall or a mildew odor. To a seller, that's a superficial issue. But buyers know damp drywall usually means failing supply lines hiding right behind it, and mildew points straight to faulty, hidden shutoff valves. Or take a corroded gas water heater. It's not just an eyesore, it very often indicates unsafe gas venting. And just like that, the conversation completely shifts from a simple maintenance issue to a critical safety hazard. The surface-level symptom is almost always just the tip of a very expensive iceberg.
Which brings us to a genuinely terrifying phrase in real estate: invasive work. When an inspector spots those visible signs of an active or reoccurring leak, they can't always tell you exactly what's wrong just by looking at the surface. Diagnosing the true extent of the damage often requires invasive work, meaning you literally have to break open walls, dig up finished floors, or disrupt the home's nice finishes just to see the pipe. Because of this massive unknown factor, if a seller can't provide documentation of prior repairs, the buyer is going to immediately escalate the risk level. Honestly, the fear of what might be lurking in the dark behind the wall is often way worse than the leak itself. And that pulls us right into Section 3, the invisible threats: pipes, sewers, and the foundation. Let's go a little deeper into the suspense arc here, down to the unseen threats lurking below the floorboards. Even with zero obvious leaks, homes can hide massive, systemic monsters. Hear an innocent gurgling sound in the drain? Yeah, that's often tree roots actively crushing your sewer line. Recurring backups or slow drainage? Those point to compromised joints or severe internal pipe scaling, especially with older materials. Even foundation cracks suggest the entire home is shifting and physically snapping the plumbing lines tucked inside. Confirming these monsters usually requires pulling out specialized camera scopes or even bringing in a structural engineer.
This brings us to a really core truth about buyer psychology. As the source material puts it, the key issue is not just whether the plumbing works today, but whether it is likely to remain reliable. When a buyer sees a lack of maintenance history or aging infrastructure, they aren't just thinking about today. They are projecting way into the future. They are terrified, and I mean terrified, of tomorrow's deferred maintenance transforming into a massive bill the morning after they get the keys.
Which naturally shifts us to Section 4, buyer leverage, the demands.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how quickly the balance of power shifts once a buyer discovers these threats. The inspection report essentially becomes a weapon. Buyers don't usually just walk away immediately, they make demands. They're going to ask for repairs to be completed by a qualified contractor before closing. They'll demand full replacement plans with written estimates, or ask for massive repair credits. They'll insist on time extensions just to figure it all out and bring in more specialists. And suddenly your smooth, easy transaction is completely derailed.
So when does the deal actually die? A transaction stalls out and dies when two specific thresholds are crossed at the exact same time. First, a plumbing issue appears unsafe or likely to worsen. And second, the seller cannot provide clarity, proof of maintenance, or a cost-effective path to resolution. If the seller declines the buyer's demands or offers a fix that's just kind of insufficient, the buyer will simply walk away, especially in highly competitive market timelines. It's just not worth the risk to them.
So, let's fix that in Section 5, The Shield, Defending Your Deal. This is where we take the power back. How do you actually shield your deal from falling apart over a hidden pipe? Let's move to and see how this builds into a punchy 3-step action plan. Step 1, gather your documentation. Pull together every receipt, past repair record, and water heater service log. Proof eliminates fear. Step 2, ensure accessibility. Make sure inspectors can easily reach your sewer cleanouts and the water heater. Don't make them guess or work for it. And Step 3, get a pre-listing inspection. Find and fix your own plumbing concerns on your terms, way before they become a massive negotiation flashpoint. It all comes down to this core philosophy. The best defense is readiness. Anticipation will absolutely always beat reaction. If you wait for the buyer to find the problem, you've already forfeited your leverage. But if you document, inspect, and prepare ahead of time, you completely shield your transaction from the anxiety that kills deals. You stay firmly in the driver's seat.
So here is the final thought I want to leave you with today. Take a quick moment to think about your own property. Are your hidden systems truly ready for the harsh spotlight of a buyer's inspection? Or is there a deal-killing monster lurking silently behind your walls right now? Don't wait for a buyer to answer that question for you. Investigate, prepare, and protect your deal. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and seriously, go check those cleanouts